Oh, we're good.
We're rolling.
Great. Hey guys, I'm Sharp. I'm the lead guitarist or something like that. And then, due to the circumstances, we wanted to get together virtually to hopefully share some memories of our friend Sean. So we're going to take some time just to spread the love and share our fond memories and how our lives have been impacted by Sean. I'm here on this Zoom meeting with my dear friend Nick Weir. He's the drummer, my drummer. And my good buddy Drew Bly, bass player from something like that. We didn't necessarily know how to approach all this, but we're going to do our best to make an effort to really share some neat stuff and how Sean has really impacted us, especially with being a part of the band. And just how music has kind of nudged us into the direction where we're at today. We're all very grateful for having the opportunity to share this camaraderie of the four of us, not to downplay other aspects of our lives that have led us to this point, but there certainly is a really amazing and vivid response to all of us having the opportunity to perform and build such friendships. I'm going to introduce these guys as I have, and then hopefully they can, start off before I was part, was part of the band or whatever. But Nick, Drew, if you want to take some time to start us off, and we'll kind of hopefully organically go from there, and we'll have a good time with it.
Thanks, Sharpie.
Appreciate that.
What's funny is that Sharp never sang at the beginning when he joined our band in college because he was so nervous to sing. He's like, I don't sing, I just play guitar. I just play wicked guitar. And then he slowly got more and more into it, and there was always a microphone at his place. And before you know it, he was singing and telling stories and giving speeches. And yeah, thanks, buddy. Beautiful little intro.
Sure.
Drewby, what is something like that?
It's the question everybody really wants to know, because we never really landed on a name for our band, and it was just like, well, we could be this or something like that. Boom. What was that? That's how we came up with the name, something like that. But we really originated as a really good group of friends, and we started at Nick's basement, Nick's garage, really anywhere we could take our instruments, and just really enjoyed spending the time together with friends, making music, having fun, making other people sing and dance. But it was, playing in the band just meant a lot to me as a person, because we started off just hanging with a group of friends, and very fortunate, very grateful for that group of friends that helped to mold each one of us into who we are today. He's definitely left a lasting impression on us, and everywhere we go, like, that music is right there with us. So from the day we started off middle school, thinking we were some cool teenagers,
Very cool.
jamming along, I was playing guitar then because I didn't have a bass, and then Sean and I kind of looked at each other like, somebody's got to pick up a bass, and
Right.
so I kind of jumped on that one, and away we thumped away. And kick it over to Nick here to share a little bit of that time moving from, middle school, high school, playing at high school homecomings, playing at high school get-togethers in the auditorium there, to coffee houses, to pretty much anywhere we could around us. So send it over to the big man.
Yeah, dude. I think between talent shows and playing at coffee shops and playing for our parents and our friends, like, that was really all that we needed to get us started. I mean, that it was everything, just be making music with our buddies. And I remember pretty vividly when we were trying to pick the name, and like we just kept saying, what about this or something like that or that or something like that. And one of them, I think it was like the runner up, was the name It Came From the Basement, because we would always play in my parents' basement. Shout out to my parents for putting up with our loud, obnoxious noises into the wee hours of the morning for many, many years, middle school, high school, college. Um, but yeah, something like that just kind of stuck, and we, shortened it, and our friends would call it SLT. And, you know, at the time we thought we were the biggest rock stars ever, and still do to this day. But it was just the foundation for so many amazing memories, and we'll do our best to keep it short and just squeeze them all in here. When it comes to Sean, I mean, we could talk for a couple days straight, and we've pretty much already done that, the three of us and some other friends, leading up to this point. But there's so many. So yeah, I mean, between us starting to share just a common ground for artists that we love, and what about this band, what about that band, we could play that song, oh let's try and play that one. And Drew switching from guitar to bass, and shout out to Weston Henry, that was our first keyboard player and sang backup and sang lead on a couple songs. And Emily Wolber, who joined the band for a little bit. She was a phenomenal violin player, and we, as everyone knows, I'm sure that's watching this, we're obsessed with Dave Matthews Band. If you know Sean, you know his love for Dave Matthews, obviously. But Dave DMB had a violin player in their band, so we had to have one, obviously. So Emily and Weston, Drew and Sean and I played, just some of the most fun but random gigs ever. And then getting into high school, and sometimes it was just the three of us, Sean, Drew, and I. Sometimes later in high school, we added Tyler Johnson, who was a great keyboard player, background vocalist, lead vocalist as well. Played some bigger shows, played some of the local festivals. Then we got into later in high school when we would play some college parties, and
Yeah.
they thought we were in college because we looked older and we're in a band. We were good enough. They're like, oh, these guys must be college dudes. We didn't drink at those, I promise, mom and dads. We'll get to our favorite gigs here, or top three here in a little bit, but it was incredible. I mean, between all the various things that we were doing, sports, musicals, going to school, working jobs, and then doing this just brought us so much joy. So very thankful for Sean's leadership, and just
That's one thing I wanted to echo off of.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to echo off of that because I actually learned a lot that carried on throughout life with, spending all that time down in Nick and Sean's basement. It was the, staying at it, critiquing it, taking that criticism from each other, delivering that criticism to each other. It was also just that attention to detail and accountability that these men kind of demanded from you. It was like Sean's approach to every single gig was like, this is the spotlight's on, let's go, let's do this right. You want to hit every note right, you want to play every note right, sing every lyric right, but you just wanted to have fun. And
Sure.
that whole approach to that attention to detail, I never wanted to show up and I didn't want to let my guys down. And
Yeah, of course not.
one of those things is like, those just kind of carried on throughout life.
Yeah.
To this day, that taught someone that was like 16, 17, 21, 22 years old, like, how to grow up, how to be an adult, those characteristics carried on throughout. And that's something that music definitely has helped. This group of guys has helped. And I mean, we're a group still to this day, like talking, catching up, looking out for one another. And these memories are like these guys have said, are so vivid. And you know, a day doesn't go by that one of these songs doesn't come on and I just see like Sean dancing on a stage, or I see
Mhm.
Nick just hammer away on the drums, or Sharpie in the smoke in the spotlight just slaying away on the guitar. Um, just a lot of fun memories throughout our time together.
Yeah,
Sorry to
man.
interrupt there, but I just wanted to really echo off of that from you, Nick.
Yeah, Drew, this kind of pulls at something I was kind of cataloging recently with under the circumstances of Sean, and you said his leadership and those type of things. For me, it was Sean had this really, I mean, you don't realize it at the time, but now looking back, this really glorious kind of legend building camaraderie of making you feel as if you deserve to be on that stage, you know? Um, I'm sure that translated like in high school with his football team and basketball and all that stuff, which I didn't see. But Sean had this really fascinating way of making me feel as if I was the best guitarist there was to be able, you know what I'm saying? So there's a neat thing about that on a number of different levels. One, I think, is just for me, I had a lot of anxiety with it all. I'm kind of into a new group of people that I felt like I needed to be into their game, but also just that calming sense of confidence that comes with that allows you to actually perform better. Um, and that can translate to anything really, right? So having that like brotherhood and that understanding of, listen, Sean knows that I can play this. That helps me know that I can play it. And it's kind of neat now looking back and just understanding how bad or good I may have been. But there's oftentimes that Sean, and you guys too, of course, but Sean really made a point to just give you that toehold on really performing to probably better than you could have without that kind of confidence and like camaraderie of those type of things. So it just really reflects on, some of the good things that Sean and his mentality really, you know, helped excuse me, to glorify the moment and also to make you feel so good. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
whether that be with humor or just that like leadership that he had. Everybody had their own little element of how to make each other better, but certainly even like outside of practices or shows or when it was just him and I, it was always just like, damn, I feel good because I'm with Sean, because
Yeah.
Sean makes me feel good.
Sharp.
And I needed that. I needed that.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, bro. Like, so thinking back to like us even before we met you playing in the band, like this was we'd get together and figure out what new songs we wanted to learn. We'd watch Dave Matthews Band live at Central Park DVDs and those kind of things, and other
Over
bands that had
and
live
over.
DVDs at the time. And that's how we would like learn and study, and then we'd go try and play it like immediately in the basement. But also it was the time of like we would print off guitar tabs or keyboard tabs or lyrics and like on the spot and then go learn it. And so you'd have all these pieces of paper on the ground or whatever. The thing with Sean though is that, as we'll talk about, and I'm sure everyone that's part of this celebration of life, he was just so damn good at everything that he did that he made all of us want to be better simply because we're on the stage with Sean Bright.
Sure.
And we would start playing and then finish, be like, okay, we'll work on that one. And then he would just start playing a song we didn't even talk about yet. And it was perfect. It was perfect.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so we all wanted to be, I mean, he made us elevate to a level that it's like, shit, dude, I'm sorry for
It's that
cussing.
accountability.
We're on stage with him. Like he's clearly has a gift. He clearly puts the time and effort into make this something great, not just like a little side hobby like
Or
so
something
many
like that.
people have. It's like, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it to the fullest capacity. So I just wanted to piggyback off you on that. And without trying to make this whole session go too long, like I said, we could talk for days about him. But so going in chronological order of, we started in middle school, then we all went to the same high school. Weston and Emily and Tyler, and then Drew was a year older than us and went to Iowa State and had just a great college experience and was working for the football team at Iowa State. And Sean and I went to visit him, figuring out like maybe this is where we want to go to school. And it was just such a great weekend. So like Drew, shout out to you for like even having us look at Iowa State and going there.
Ruby. Whoop, whoop.
So fast forward, you know, we played a couple gigs here and there. We kind of broke up for a little bit. I don't want to say we had a falling out, but you know, college changes people, and we all kind of grew apart a little bit. But long story short, we ended up getting back together, and it was just Drew, Sean, and I, and we entered into a battle of the bands at a bar. And
Well, actually, can I pause you? Remember that time we were just playing in our basement before the OAR concert?
Oh yeah.
And we're just jamming along, just the three of us, hanging and playing, and then boom, turn around and the whole basement is filled by people walking to Stevens to see OAR, but they heard us jamming in the basement and they just came in the house and was partying. I think at that moment it was kind of like, to me, it was like, yo, we can still do this.
Yeah.
Like, we can still do this. And then so fast forward to your battle there.
Yeah, we so kind of birthed out of that. We're like, well, there's this battle of the bands. Let's enter into it. There's a couple different bands. The winner wins $500 and becomes the house band like every Thursday or Saturday night or both at a bar called Size Roos in Ames, Iowa at Iowa State. And it was just the three of us. The winner won on crowd participation or crowd audience applause. And we were very
well represented.
Lucky because the whole bar was our friends. So
Sure,
we won. And so skipping ahead, we won the $500, and the next gig, or the first gig, was the next weekend. First weekend as the house band at Size Roos, and I had a conference through my major in New Orleans, so I couldn't be there. So Sean and Drew decided to play upstairs on the upstairs stage and do like an acoustic gig. Bunch of friends showed up, and take it away, Sharpie.
Yeah, so this is kind of how I got thrown into the loop. You know, it's so vivid in my mind, which is a neat thing. Like, it's hard that you may know somebody, but how did you vividly meet somebody that exact moment? And I'll try to trim the fat on this. I know we're getting a little long-winded and it's exciting for us, but I had went to that club that they're talking about, you know, just to party with my friends and stuff. And one of them happened to know, I think, the boys through, you know, whatever, mutual friends or Nick's fraternity or something like that.
What's that?
Something like that.
Put $1 in the car, bro.
So these guys are playing, and you know, and I'm there just to party, you know, with my buddies and stuff. And on one of their, and I think it was Nick Beadle, was it? Who was like, dude, I know you play guitar, you got to meet these guys, you know? And I was like, yeah, that'd be wonderful. And just a little bit of liquid courage and impromptu at a set break. They're like, hey, you know, we're introducing me to Sean and Drew, who, you know, were the guys up on stage and kind of the stars of the night. And I don't know, somehow pitched this analogy of, guys, I really want to play a song with you. Wouldn't that would really make my dream come true or whatever, to be able to perform on stage. And mind you, I'd never done anything like that before. You know, Drew and Sean politely are like, dude, we'd love to, but you know, we don't have any extra gear or anything, which looking back now was kind of the hint of like, dude, get out of here. Like, who is this guy? But you know, I just couldn't stop there. I was like, dude, don't worry. I live like 3 blocks from here. I'll run home. I'll get my amp, my guitar and all that stuff. And they're like, okay, man, you do that. And like, you know, kind of those like, what an idiot. No way he's coming back. Long story short, man, I sprinted down there. I got my little Ford Ranger and like threw the shit in the truck. Pulled up to the club, and the security or somebody that works there was like, "Oh my gosh, are you with the band?" I'm like, "Yeah, help me."
The only time that worked. I'm with the band, I swear.
Yeah, I'm just a little late. So he's like carrying equipment upstairs and my guitar and stuff. I just couldn't take the hints. I couldn't take the hints, Drew. I'm sorry, man.
Oh,
We're fortunate
and,
you didn't.
yeah, dude, we're
yeah,
grateful.
and
We're
so
grateful.
we kind of like start doing something that these guys are, Drew and Sean are performing, and it's like, crowded and dark, and it's a college club, and so I start like loading in on the side of the stage. And I think I like to wonder what what Sean and Drew were thinking at that point. Like, what is
I
this
could
guy
tell you.
doing? I'm sure you will.
I could tell you. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, he actually came back. So I was like, okay, well, now we got to figure out some songs that he knows that we know.
Yeah, and
So let's just jam. And
I kind of set up and plugged in and stuff, and was like, I don't know how long we waited, but for you to finish your song, and you guys both kind of came over and were like, okay, we're doing this. I mean, I was like, so, and for me, I could kind of lead naturally to an extent at that time. So I was like, what do you guys want to play, or something like that? And I think it was Sweet Home Alabama is the first song we ever played together.
mhm.
Which is a good one because it's so recognizable and stuff. And the boys, I think Drew and Sean used to tell me this all the time, that I didn't even wait for you guys to like cue me in. I just started I was just like just started playing the lead, and then they followed right in, which is foreshadowing for a lot of other times where I tried to steal a spotlight, I'm sure. But man, it's a neat thing. Everybody's kind of perception of that, I think, is different from their own perspective, of course, and there's a lot more that goes into that, of course. But man, it's a neat thing to really know and understand what that exact moment is where you had an opportunity to connect with somebody. And it's also, such a comical story,
It
something
is.
that likely should have never happened.
It is.
And under the circumstances, how the universe collided us all together, and that is really neat.
I think with that night, it was totally organic. It was come in and in true Sean fashion. You play an instrument? Cool, let's make some music.
Totally
And
wonderful.
didn't care at all. And we're just up there having fun. And again, that's what it is all about. Let's just enjoy the moment, enjoy the time. Let's make each other dance. Let's make other people dance.
Mhm.
Let's just have a good time with it all.
Yeah.
And also that night, next up, we're gonna kick it to Nick, because that night had a very, very strong significance on what became out of that night. So right here, we're gonna kick it over to Nick. Let you share a little bit on that night.
Yeah, buddy. And we only got a couple minutes left, and then we'll come back and talk about our favorite gigs and just overall impact on that Sean had on our lives. Like I said, we could talk for days about this guy. So this is really, really tough. Shorten it to a couple minutes. That night that I wasn't there, had I been there, in full disclosure, who knows if Sharp would have been in the bar that night? Who knows if we would have invited him on stage, or
Nick would not have
Would have
let me on
persuaded
stage. I
him.
can tell you that
if
right
I
now.
would have been like, get out of here.
Not a chance.
Guy
Not a
number two. But that same night, I was, like I mentioned, I was in New Orleans for a conference through my major, which has completely changed my life and is the reason why I've done the things that are behind me. And just, it's unreal that this one night, something was in the air, the stars aligned. Not only was Sharp meeting Drew and Sean for the first time, and me getting calls in New Orleans at 3 a.m. saying, "Hey, we just met our new guitar player. This guy's amazing. You're not going to believe what happened." And I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? You're playing an acoustic gig. Like, what is happening?" But that night, I got an interview and eventually a job offer from a good friend, great friend of ours, Three Carpenter, who just completely changed my life. And long story short, I'm in Nashville doing what I do in the music industry now because of him. And it's crazy how it all comes together, that the night that Sean and Drew meet Sharp, who becomes one of our best friends in the entire world, and our guitar player, is the night I'm meeting a guy that changed so much. It was all meant to happen.
Yeah, dude.
And
Sorry to stop. The recording's about to pause, and we're going to jump into another new Zoom meeting.
yeah,
It's an opportunity, a good opportunity for that. Okay. Be back in a minute for the next episode of Something Like That.